It's time for the Creative Real Estate Podcast, your source for out-of-the-box real estate investing strategies, brought to you by realbluespruce.com.
Happy Sunday, everyone. Welcome back. Before we get started, hey, I wanted to remind you that I'm not your attorney. I'm not your CPA. This show is not specific advice for you or your situation. I'm just sharing some of the creative approaches that are out there to getting some things done. Laws, rules, regulations, they're number one, unique to local municipalities, and number two, they're ever changing. The purpose of the show is to open more minds to creative strategies and unique approaches that often get overlooked. That's why we've brought in Brandon Turner from Bigger Pockets Podcast, Matt Terrio from the Epic Real Estate Podcast, and other big syndicators like Michael Blanc, Rod Cleef, and Brad Sumrok. So by the way, about Brad Sumrok, let me just touch on something. I'm pretty sure that this episode will come out before June 5th. So, hey, if you don't have your tickets yet, there's a $95 event, but we have a huge discount. It's like $75 off. Brad Sumrok's just sharing some unique creative strategies on how you can move into multifamily faster. He actually did his first deal was 32 units. That was his very first deal ever. He bought $1 million apartment complex, and you can too. You don't have to, somehow graduate from single family. So if you're interested in that and you might be in the Denver area on June 5th, then you probably just want to scroll down right now. I'll put in a link to grab these tickets, and the code is just DAN, just Dan. That'll save you $75. Anyway, I really actually think that would be valuable for you. Guys, regardless if you're syndicating or doing some other type of real estate, I'm personally on a mission to help more and more people think differently about real estate. So thank you for being here. Thanks for being a loyal listener. And I'm actually really glad that you're here. We've been getting a lot of 5-star reviews lately. So I wanted to thank you for that too. It helps us keep attracting great guests like the ones that we talked about before. It helps us attract those guests to the show. And iTunes actually also puts us in front of more and more people so we can help more and more people to be able to just kind of open their minds to some of these strategies like the BRRRR strategy, etc. With that said, I wanted to read one of the reviews that have come in lately. We've got a 5-star review from Awaken the Leader. So Awaken the Leader, thank you for your review. 5-star says, great show. Nice job, guys. Lots of great insight and amazing guests. Piqued my interest in investing. Keep doing what you're doing. So Awaken the Leader, thank you for doing that. If anybody out there does send in one of these 5-star reviews, just take a screenshot of it and you can actually just email it to me and I'll get you a free gift. If you want the book or one of our coffee mugs, then I'll send that to you. The coffee mugs say happiness is passive cash flow. So hopefully you're excited about that. So feel free to take a screenshot and email it to adam@realbluespruce.com. From tax deeds with other people's self-directed 401ks to fix and flips with private money, from house hacks to helping you to be able to actually live completely rent-free or even make extra money on the house you're living in, to using the BRRRR strategy to get infinite returns on your rentals, from helping a homeowner avoid foreclosure, getting them more money into their pocket than any other investor can, or to properly utilize the lease options subject to wraparound mortgage, land contract, and seller carry strategies to create win-wins with sellers, and from tax-saving strategies like the 1031 exchange and cost segregation to buying large apartment complexes with synergistic partnerships. The Creative Real Estate Podcast is your source for out-of-the-box real estate investing. All right, guys, today is Syndication Sunday, so I just have a couple quick nuggets for you to talk a little bit about cap rates, cash on cash, debt service coverage ratio, and overall ROI. And to start off, I just want to kind of mention that I think that it's very, very important that you're hiring a mentor, coach, or consultant to help you out with whatever it is you're doing, whether you're doing multifamily or something else. You need to hire a consultant, a mentor, or coach. And don't worry, guys, I am not trying to sell you a coaching program. That's not the purpose for this. Number one, if we're talking about the cap rates, cash on cash, and DSCR, that's something that we call together as the Holy Trinity, all right? So our coach, mentor, and consultant has shared with us the Holy Trinity and how important it is to help make sure that you're getting funds for your investors, but the Holy Trinity is no good on its own. You have to be looking at the ROI. Let's go over this. Okay, so we look for cap rates of 8%, and some people think you can't find a cap rate of 8%, and some people are finding them all over the place, maybe if they live in Chicago, Illinois, where they're getting 10 to 20 caps right now. But others are looking in Denver or New York, and they're finding 2, 4, and 6 caps. So anyway, we only look for 8% capitalization rates, which allows us to make sure that we are cash flowing from day one to keep us safe and protected and to keep our investors safe and protected. Number 2 part of the Holy Trinity is a cash on cash. Guys, what cash on cash does is it depends on how much you put down and what you're getting in return for what you put down. So if you basically, let's say we get an 8 cap and we put down an 80-20 loan, there's a very good chance that you're getting about a 12% cash on cash automatically. However, if you got an 8 cap and you had to put down 30% and got a 70-30 loan, there's a good chance you won't be getting a good cash on cash. Other things that affect that are going to be the interest rate. So if the interest rates spike, it'll be very difficult to get a cash on cash of 12%, which is what we look for. 12% helps us so we can give our investors a passive cash flow of 7, 8, 9+% passive cash flow to our equity partners, our investors, the syndication partners. So cash on cash is very, very important. And like I said, it changes a little bit depending on how much you put down versus how much you're getting back. And also whatever the interest rate is will affect that as well. DSCR, guys, some people call this debt service ratio. Some people call it debt coverage ratio. And the real term is debt service coverage ratio. So whatever you call it, DSR, DCR, or DSCR, what that means is that it's a ratio that shows you what percentage of what you're getting is going to your mortgage and what you're keeping. So right now, if you had a DSCR of 1, that would mean that you're paying your mortgage all the way completely. You don't have any money left over, but you're also not coming out of pocket to pay that mortgage. What most banks are asking for right now is a 1.2, or even they're getting to 1.25. What that means is if your mortgage costs you $100,000 by the end of the year, that means that you'll have $25,000 in your pocket sitting there because you have 25% more than what the debt service costs you, right? So, and then when we look at our properties, we make sure that we have at least a 1.6 DSCR. So if you've been listening, that means 60% more than the mortgage costs you is your cash flow. All right, so just so you know, we have a property that's closing today that is an 83 unit. On that one, we actually have a DSCR of 2.1. So it's kind of unheard of, but we got that with a lot of equity, so it makes sense. But 2.1, what does that mean? If the mortgage costs us $100,000 this year, that means we've made and netted another $110,000 into the pocket. So we make more than double what the mortgage is on that one. So focus on this. Just say again to yourself, 8, 12, 16. Say that a few times. Cap rates, 8%, cash on cash, at least 12, DSCR, at least 1.6. This will help you stay safe, make sure that you can pay your investors. But none of that matters if you don't have an overall ROI that can at least double your investors' money in about 5 to 6 years, which I guess would add up to about 18-ish%, 20-ish% per year over the course of 5 years. So if you can't have an overall ROI of that, then maybe these numbers don't matter. So in Chicago, Illinois, you might be able to find 8, 9, 10, 11, or even a 20 cap in some areas. But when we are underwriting these deals, we don't see an overall return on investment coming in to be able to double anybody's investment. So for those, even though the cap rates are high, even though the cash on cash would be high, and the debt service coverage ratio would work, we don't see those appreciating enough. We don't see anything happening where we can force appreciation, lower expenses, raise rents, enough to actually make that make sense for our investors. On the flip side, there's a lot of other investors out there that are doing syndications that don't look for the cap rates or the cash on cash or the DSCR that we look for. They look for only overall ROI. And while that looks very enticing, here's what you might get. That you might get somebody showing you projections that looks like it'll triple investors' money in 5 years. All right, so that looks really, really good, but we don't feel like it's safe if you're not being able to cash flow from day one. Think about these people are doing a fix and flip versus the person that's just buying a rental. So which one's more risky? Obviously, the fix and flip has a higher amount of risk, but with risk becomes a large return or an overall availability to make more money or to lose more money. So for us, if it has the 8 cap, the 12% cash on cash and the 1.6 debt service coverage ratio, we just make sure that also can return our investors at least double their money in 5 to 6 years. And that is good for us. But those other people that might go into a property that has like a 2, 4, 5, 6, 7 cap and a cash on cash of anywhere from 7, 8, 9, 10 and a DSCR of 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, when they're getting into these deals, they're looking at an overall ROI of maybe 200, 300% in 5, 6, 7, 10 years. That to us is a little bit risky. So this is just a few little nuggets that'll help you to be able to underwrite a property for yourself. If you've got all the cap rates and cash on cash, but you have a really, really small ROI, it might not be worth it. Again, if you have a huge ROI, but all these other metrics are too small, if the Holy Trinity isn't working out, but the total overall is hugely working out, you might just be putting yourself into a position of concern where you're not protecting yourself or your investors' money. And again, this is a team sport. You want to make your investors happy. You want to make sure that they're getting what you say that they're going to get. So when it comes to all these things, cap rate, cash on cash, DSCR, and overall return on investment, you want to use conservative numbers. All right. So I think that is enough for today. I really appreciate you guys being here. Again, go to iTunes, leave us a 5-star rating, take a screenshot of that, email it to me at adam@realbluespruce.com, and I'll get you a little gift. Just let me know what you want. Do you want a t-shirt that says happiness is passive cash flow? Then just give me a woman's shirt, a men's shirt, and give me your size. I'll get that mailed off to you. If you want a mug, I'll mail it to you. And finally, if you want my book that's coming out about how to create the best and strongest meetup group on the planet, then just say that you want the book. I'll give you the $20 book, send it to you. No problem. Just give me the address where I need to get it, and I will be ever so grateful for you to give us a 5-star rating. Thank you so much, guys, for listening, and we'll talk to you later.
Support for the Creative Real Estate Podcast is provided by Lead Funding, a great private lender serving Colorado, Arizona, Texas, and Washington State. We at Blue Spruce have worked with Lead Funding and heartily endorse them. What we love about Lead Funding is that, number one, they're fast. I've personally seen them underwrite and close a loan in just 48 hours. And number two, they are active investors themselves. That means we'll help you understand the pros and cons of a deal. And if it doesn't look good, they'll advise you on how to make it work or even walk away. They don't look just at the numbers. They have a keen eye for whether there are hidden gotchas in the rehab that you may not have noticed in your own due diligence. Seriously, these guys know their stuff and are great to work with. You can find them online at leadfunding.com or by calling 303-834-3494. And make sure you listen to our interview with Lead Funding partner Al Robertson in episode 4. Once again, call 303-834-3494 or just go to leadfunding.com.